The Supreme Court's Ayodhya verdict was delivered today. 5-judge unanimous verdict that has given several big takeaways. If you've just joined us and not followed the news through the day, these are the big takeaways. The Supreme Court says that the land at the disputed site in Ayodhya, the 2.77 acres, will be given to the Ram Janmabhoomi Nyas. They can build a Ram Mandir there. The Ram Lalla Virajman, which has been treated as a legal entity, gets the entire disputed land. 5 acres of separate land will be given to the Sunni Waqf Board, whose claims have also been recognized, and it will have to be given within the precincts of Ayodhya. The centre has been asked to form a trust under the Ayodhya Act, which will oversee the temple construction. The centre to frame a temple construction scheme in 3 months. These are some of the big takeaways that we've been given. Let's listen in to how the reactions from the Prime Minister, opposition leaders have been on a day when calm has been maintained across the country.
फैसला आने के बाद जिस प्रकार हर वर्ग ने, हर समुदाय ने, हर पंथ के लोगों ने, पूरे देश ने खुले दिल से इसे स्वीकार किया है, वो भारत की पुरातन संस्कृति, परंपराओं और सद्भाव की भावना को प्रतिबिंबित करता है। पूरी दुनिया ये तो मानती ही है कि भारत दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा लोकतांत्रिक देश है। आज दुनिया ने ये भी जान लिया है कि भारत का लोकतंत्र कितना जीवंत है और कितना मजबूत है।
श्री राम जन्मभूमि के संबंध में माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय द्वारा इस देश की जनभावना, आस्था एवं श्रद्धा को न्याय देने वाले निर्णय का राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ स्वागत करता है। इस निर्णय को जय पराजय की दृष्टि से बिल्कुल नहीं देखना चाहिए। इस विवाद के समापन की दिशा में सर्वोच्च न्यायालय के निर्णय के अनुरूप परस्पर विवाद को समाप्त करने वाली पहल सरकार की ओर से शीघ्रतापूर्वक होगी, ऐसा हमें विश्वास है। अतीत की सभी बातों को भुलाकर हम सभी श्री राम जन्मभूमि पर भव्य मंदिर के निर्माण में साथ मिलजुल कर अपने कर्तव्यों का निर्वाह करें।
I am saying Supreme Court is supreme but not infallible, and as the Masala Board has rightly said, we are not satisfied with this judgment. And my grievance, my question is, had the masjid not been demolished on 6th of December 1992, what would have been the judgment given today? Had the idols not been placed in 1949, what would have been the judgment? At each and every step, there is a pattern of injustice. Though Supreme Court is supreme, it is not infallible.
Interesting. Though Supreme Court is supreme, it's not infallible, say the opponents of the way the verdict has been framed. Others are hailing the verdict as historic. The big questions: will this Ayodhya verdict really bring lasting peace? Have judges given a balanced or a one-sided verdict? Is it time to forget the past and simply move on? Will the politics over Ayodhya now finally come to an end? How will the Ayodhya judgment shape India's future? Will those responsible for the Babri Masjid demolition be punished, a criminal act as described by the courts? Joining me now, Swapan Dasgupta, BJP MP of the Rajya Sabha, nominated MP. I'm also joined by Shahid Siddiqui, Chief Editor of the weekly Nai Dunya, himself a former MP. Vikas Singh is Senior Advocate who appeared for the Hindu Mahasabha in the court. I'm also going to be joined in a moment by Sanjay Hegde, Senior Lawyer, and Rajiv Pratap Rudy, BJP MP. Swapan Dasgupta, let me come to you first. How do you see this verdict? Do you believe that it provides a healing touch, or the very nature of the verdict means that it is in a sense imbalanced, in that one side today can genuinely claim it has now got the entire disputed land? Is it a balanced judgment or is it a one-sided judgment?
Rajdeep, the first thing I think we must all breathe a sigh of relief that there is a final closure to a dispute which appeared intractable, which has been persisting for well over a century, and which certainly has been persisting in a more virulent form since the 1980s. This is a dispute which has divided Indian politics. This is it has united parts of society, but it has also left a large section of society hostile. So finally, it was the desire of everybody, and if you remember the 90s, the whole thing is this must be settled in a court of law. This must be settled in a court of law. This must not be done through agitation. That was the recurrent theme all along. So it's gone to a court of law. It's gone to the highest court of law, and the highest court of law, using either legal methods or methods of arbitration, have decided that this is the best way out of this. So I think under the circumstances, yes, I personally feel very elated at the fact that a Ram temple, which was certainly a desire of a very large section of the Indian population,
right,
and whose significance is more than religious, I think that is coming to a fruition. And to that extent, I hope I can understand the feelings of those who say that the Supreme Court is not infallible. Yes, of course, they are humans after all. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question, do you want this dispute to persist? Do you want a final closure of it? Or I think under the circumstances, and given the restraint and the responsibility and the sobriety with which this judgment has been greeted by everybody, including those who feel a bit aggrieved, I think overall, I think the atmosphere is very good. And I think this is a positive indication that we can actually put any form of divisiveness behind us.
So you are saying that you believe this judgment will bring closure. You actually think this judgment will bring closure. And closure, when I mean closure, not just in the context of the dispute, but the wider issue of the Hindu-Muslim engagement.
No, I don't think that's necessarily. I think it will bring a closure to Ayodhya. But I think there are questions which are likely to come up, where there will be intellectual debates on this whole question, and which is really the question of, I would certainly like to ask the question, why today, why did so many people with positions of responsibility and influence try to stall the temple for so long? That's a question certainly that intrigues me. Given the fact that everyone said, let's go to the court of law, let's go to the court of law. And yet, these were the very people who did everything in their power to perpetuate this dispute, turn it into an issue which made Hindus look ugly. And I think that, and I think those are questions, but for today, I would rather not ask those questions. Okay. But yes, those questions will continue to agitate people like me.
We'll come to that in a moment. As I said, I want to get the big picture this evening because I think that's what we need to focus on. Shahid Siddiqui, you heard Swapan Dasgupta say that he believes this will bring closure to the Ayodhya issue per se. Do you believe it will bring closure to the Ayodhya issue per se, or the manner in which the court has given 5 acres to the Sunni Waqf Board? I saw a tweet of yours saying we should build a hospital there, not even a mosque. Do you see that vexed Hindu-Muslim issue getting any kind of closure? Or have we opened fresh fault lines again?
No, I broadly agree with Swapan. What I think is that Hindu-Muslim issues will be raised, some issues will remain, but we can have a new beginning now onwards. Because I have been speaking to clerics, and for long I have been saying, why don't you come to a mediated settlement? They always said, we can't give the mosque. If the court gives, we can't do anything about it. If it's taken by force, we can't do anything about it. But we are in no position because a mosque belongs to Allah, not to any cleric or any individual. So that has been their stand. So now, and they have always been saying, we will agree with the court judgment. So they all agree with that. In every mosque, this sermon was announced yesterday after the Friday prayers that whatever the judgment, we will go with it.
So are you saying the likes of Assaduddin Owaisi, are you saying, Mr. Shahid Siddiqui, the likes,
a new beginning.
From
are you saying
Are you saying the likes of Assaduddin Owaisi who feel like...
come, or we can go to a situation where we can resolve a lot of coming issues. Not only Ayodhya, but a lot of other issues can be resolved now onwards. We can make a new beginning, and we should try to make a new beginning now onwards. I agree with the Prime Minister, the way Prime Minister has spoken, and about my tweet, what I'm saying is that there is no point in building a symbolic mosque. There is no need for a symbolic mosque in Ayodhya now, because already there are many mosques which are, many of them are not used because there are not many Muslims there, but Muslims should not reject these 5 acres. They should accept these 5 acres, take it, let the Waqf Board take it, and then build a hospital for the people who will be coming there, for the people of Ayodhya, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Shraddhalus who come there, and let it be run by Muslims. That will be a symbol of Indian secularism. That will be a symbol of Indian unity and people coming together. So that's what I believe, because there is no need for a mosque.
Mr. Siddiqui, I'm going to stop you for a moment. I must move on and get other views as well. I must move on and get other views as well, sir. Let me bring in as many views as possible. Vikas Singh, you appeared in the court. We are hearing interesting views both from Shahid Siddiqui, Swapan Das Gupta, hoping in a sense that this brings closure. You were actually involved. From a legal perspective, do you believe this judgment fulfills all the tests, particularly the test of constitutional morality? Because the judges very clearly said 1992 act of vandalism, 1949 the manner in which the Ram Lalla idol was brought in was also completely illegal, and yet have chosen to give the land itself to those who some would argue were responsible for the vandalism. To that extent, is the judgment constitutionally flawed, even if it is politically wise?
Well, Rajdeep Sardesai, just to bring in the perspective in which this decision has come, one is to appreciate that the Indian jurisprudence is such that if even an unauthorized occupant of land or a complete trespasser on land is entitled to stay in such unauthorized possession or trespass except to be removed by an authority of law. So that means you have to move the court and get him dispossessed. Now in this case, the Muslims are in that situation where they now have been found to be unauthorizedly on this land, but they were removed without authority of law. The Hindu community did not, wait for a judgment to come to dispossess them, but forcibly dispossessed them or broke down their structure. So that really is the conspectus in which this decision has come. So ultimately, if the rightful owner is able to claim that he is the rightful owner, he is definitely entitled to be put back in possession. He is definitely entitled to be assuaged, his right to
and
the land. And I
presume, sir, rightful ownership in this context is based on continuous uninterrupted practice. Am I correct? The rightful ownership has been decreed by the court on the basis of continuous uninterrupted practice and worship. Is it about faith,
not only that,
or is it about practice?
Rajdeep, the fact that there was it's about evidence. It is about evidence, and it is also about faith. But I'll tell you how in faith and evidence gets intermingled in this case. The possession of the Muslims have, even for those 300 or 400 years that the mosque was there in existence, has not found to be hostile. So that means the Hindus have all along been going there, and it has been said in the complaint of the Muslims in 1857 itself that in the Bedi, which is right in the sanctum sanctorum of the mosque, Hindus used to come for centuries, and they used to lie down on the floor and pay their respects to God. So it has been admitted, and it is proved on the basis of evidence that there was a joint possession of this property both by Hindus and the Muslims as far as offering prayer is concerned. In fact, the Muslims have not been able to demonstrate that they used to offer nawaz uninterruptedly, but the Hindus have been found to be offering prayers there uninterrupted. That's one.
Right.
The second part is that the area itself had the kind of faith that when there was a High Court order permitting, cow slaughter in Ayodhya, the governor of that Ayodhya at that point of a Britisher, in I think probably 1814 or 1810, he disobeyed the High Court order and he said that this place has so much of sanctity that I will not obey a High Court order, and he did not permit cow slaughter to be done within Ayodhya. And his decision was affirmed by the Crown. So that means the British also felt, the Crown also felt that whatever he has done contrary to the High Court is correct. So they created a small segment in Ayodhya and permitted cow slaughter only in that area. Now that is the kind of faith that this place had as far as the Hindus are concerned. And lastly, as far as evidence is concerned, the archaeological survey after the demolition of the mosque have, found a lot of, uncovered a lot of things which were under the mosque to suggest that there was a temple at the same place in Ayodhya. So, and the Skand Puran also, which is, found in a book in the Oxford Library in England, also notices that the Sita Rasoi and the Sita Coop, the
Sir,
way it is given, Vayu Kon and the Dishti Kon, which is a well-known.
I would request you to keep your interventions a little briefer.
No, I'm only trying to show the evidence that was there before though.
Yeah, that is what you provided. Let's go by what the court said in
so
its
that's how I say that it is a matter of both evidence as well as faith.
Yes, let's go by what the court said in the 1045-page judgment. And one of the things they did say was the act of 1992 was a criminal act.
So court has also said that it is a mixture of evidence and...
Yes, but they've also said that the act of 1992
I 100% agree.
Was a criminal act, and therefore that brings me to the question, Sanjay Hegde, has the court been able to harmonize that, the concept of the act of vandalism of December 6, 1992, with the issue of the central title dispute and the evidence that was provided to suggest that there was continuous and uninterrupted worship? Have they been able to harmonize it?
Achha, so there was a temple, Hindu origin.
See, what the court has attempted is a very delicate balance. The problem about attempting a balance is that sometimes it's only time that will tell whether you have fallen between two stools. So here, what the court has done is, it has said on the archaeological evidence that things are inconclusive as to whether there was a temple which was demolished to make way for the mosque. It has also held that the 1949 act of putting in idols there was an act of desecration of the mosque. It has thirdly, it has held that 1992 the demolition was a violation of the rule of law. Having said all that, when it comes to the question of evidence on who has been able to prove title, it has analyzed all the suits, the pleadings, and finally said that both suits, that is the Hindu suit as well as the Muslim suit, have to be decreed. Having decreed both suits, how do we mold the relief? In the question of molding the relief, it is where the court has given an alternate side to the Muslims using its power under Article 142 of the Constitution. Now, these are all steps in a process to get at the ultimate order. Whether they thought of the order first and then provided the reasoning, or whether they reasoned it out first and then provided the order, that legal historians and quibblers like me will go on endlessly debating.
Can I just stop? Can I also stop you for a moment? Can I stop you next?
Question to my mind as a legal historian.
Yes, very quickly, sir.
Yes, please.
Very quickly.
Tell me.
No, my point at the moment, Swapan Dasgupta, Swapan Dasgupta, just a minute, Mr. Hegde. I request all my panelists to be a little brief with their comments. I know that this is a complex issue, but I want to get in everyone. Swapan Dasgupta, there are two aspects to it. There is the civil title suit which has been decided today and has come very firmly in the belief that the Ram Janmabhoomi Nyas should get the disputed land. The other aspect is the criminal aspect. And the criminal aspect involves what happened on December 6, 1992, which the court has clearly said was an act of desecration. When you speak of closure, do you believe closure must involve punishment of those responsible for the criminal act? Can we divorce the criminal act from the title suit?
I believe we can. I think there's a parallel process going on about the people who are responsible for the demolition of 1992, which is going on, and I presume will go on. But I think what you have to realize more than that, and I think all the evidence would suggest that there was a gaping wound in the hearts of Hindus who felt dispossessed from a sacred shrine which they considered their own. And for various reasons, whether this was brought about by an act of original vandalism or not is a matter of historians to debate. But the fact is that there was a certain direct action which was taken in 1949 and there was a certain direct action which was taken in 1992 and which stemmed from that feeling of hurt, the feeling of deprivation. And today I believe that the court has addressed those, looked at the evidence and found meaningful evidence to suggest that yes, there is a fit case for a Ram temple to be built in Ayodhya. And I know this goes against the weight of consensus among certain intellectuals and historians, etc. But that's what the court has found.
Sure, can you divorce that? But can you divorce it, Swapan Dasgupta, from what you call is the direct action?
No,
can you divorce it from the direct action? You think both must happen coterminously?
It is part.
For closure.
I am not divorcing it. I am saying.
What about the wounds of those who lost their lives as a result of what happened in Ayodhya?
I am saying you can continue with the criminal. The lot of people lost their lives in fighting for the temple. Let's not get into that. I'm in Calcutta and there are the two brothers, the Kotari brothers, who lost their lives in this, were shot down. A lot of people lost their lives. So let's not look at it in one way or the other. So the important thing is that there was an outstanding grievance. There have been outstanding grievances. But this one was the one which was catapulted to the top of the national agenda. And I think that grievance, to my mind, has been resolved. But the criminal action, if you want to continue, if that continues, yes, that's a parallel process and I guess it must continue.
Okay. So you're saying it is possible to distinguish the two. Is that enough, therefore, to then have new beginnings, as Shahid Siddiqui puts it? Is this a moment for new beginnings? Let's take a break on that point. How do you find new beginnings after such a tortuous, bloodied past? Such an acrimonious, polarized past is what I will raise. As we head into that break, listen into what Shri Ravi Shankar, who was appointed a mediator by the Supreme Court, a mediation process that failed, had to say when I asked him this question. Back in a moment. Your first reaction, Shri, to what you heard today from the court, is it a balanced, nuanced judgment? Is it a one-sided judgment? How do you see it?
No, it's a historic judgment which has done justice to both communities. There is nothing to bicker about. So it has taken the consideration, it has taken into consideration the sensibility of the issue, and everyone should welcome this verdict. And I think it's beginning a new chapter. Today is 11/9. So it's a different form of 9/11 that world will always remember, where both communities are given justice. And
you're saying, Shishiji, you're saying both communities have been given justice. The 5 acres land for the Muslims will become important. Where do you think that should be? Should there be a moratorium on all further claims like Kashi and Mathura, so that there's a sense of true closure?
No, that the government will decide. UP government, central government will say where they should get it with the Sunni Waqf Board. So it is their,
Should there be closure to all other issues, sir?
Thank you.
Should there be closure to all other issues? Kashi, Mathura?
I think this is I think the whole contention was only with this place right now, and this has been resolved, and we must all be very happy about it.
The central question I want to pose today, will the Ayodhya verdict, the unanimous verdict, lead to new beginnings? The Hindu-Muslim compact struggled with over the years. Now the temple town of Ayodhya itself breathed a sigh of relief today as the Supreme Court pronounced the verdict. There was peace. Ayodhya had turned into a fortress and it remained peaceful after the judgment. Preeti Chaudhary and Ankit Tyagi report from Ayodhya.
Ayodhya heaves a sigh of relief as the Supreme Court settles the decades-old title dispute. the temple town had turned into a virtual fortress ahead of the verdict. Ayodhya didn't see any major untoward incident. By and large, residents of Ayodhya from both the communities accepted the verdict with grace. Son of the oldest litigant in the case, Muhammad Hashim Ansari, expressed hope that people will now put the dispute behind them.
आज फैसला जो कुछ भी आया हो बिल्कुल बेहतर है। हम इससे पहले भी कहते रहे, आज भी कहते हैं कि फैसला कोर्ट ने किया है, हम उसका सम्मान करेंगे। हजारों आदमी के बीच में कहता रहा, मीडिया में भी कहता रहा, आज कोर्ट ने फैसला कर दिया है, हमने इसको मान लिया। अब हम पूरी दुनिया को संदेश देते हैं, अगर पक्षकार ने फैसले को मान लिया तो आप भी मान लें।
The saints also welcomed the verdict. For them, the wait for the Maryada Purushottam Shri Ram temple has finally ended.
जिस चीज की इंतजार किया जाए उसकी जो प्राप्ति हो जाए वो प्राप्त हो जाए, तो जो भी इंतजार में परेशानियां हुई वो सारी परेशानियां भूल जाते हैं। तो ऐसी स्थिति में अब सब कुछ भूल चुके, जितना भी कष्ट साधन रहा कष्ट उठा लिए, अब इस प्रकार का कोई भी कष्ट नहीं होगा।
Ordinary citizens from all walks of life called for harmony between the two communities.
जो निर्णय सुनाया है उससे हम सहमत हैं। हम सभी अयोध्यावासी, देशवासी।
70 साल पुराना ये मुद्दा था, इसी के नाम पे इतनी नफरत, हिंदू मुसलमान में दंगा फसाद, इंसानियत मरती थी, वो खत्म हो। अब जो भी फैसला आया है इसको मान लेना चाहिए, इससे बेहतर कोई फैसला नहीं है।
वो फैसला ऐतिहासिक है। मैं 1/130 करोड़ भारत अपनी तरफ से संपूर्ण भारतवर्ष और पूरे विश्व में जो सनातन मान्यता और हिंदू मुस्लिम भाईचारे की मान्यता के लोग हैं सबको बधाई देता हूं।
Within 30 minutes today, the Supreme Court ended a historical dispute, a dispute that had led the political, the religious narrative of this country for decades. But possibly with this end will be new beginnings, especially for Ayodhya and the people of Ayodhya. Reporting with Ankit Tyagi and camera person Mohsin Khan in Ayodhya, Preeti Chaudhary for India Today.
Okay, let's go back to our panel and raise that issue. We are seeing these images playing out of Ayodhya, and those images are talking of new beginnings. Are those new beginnings really possible? Shahid Siddiqui, as I said, you spoke about the need for the Muslim community to put this behind them and look ahead. Do you believe that's possible? Do you believe that's possible only through Ayodhya? Will other issues like NRC, Citizenship Act, Uniform Civil Code keep coming? Are we heading in a sense, therefore, towards a situation where it won't be, it's not just anymore about Ayodhya. The government will need to tackle all these issues. Or do you see a compact now possible, a new beginning?
Arnab, the suspicion between the two communities has been there from pre-partition days that led to the partition. It can't be resolved by resolving just one issue, but one beginning can be made from here. The fact is that Muslims are in fact feeling insecure today. They are feeling marginalized politically. They are feeling marginalized in many other ways. And the way Prime Minister has spoken, I hope that he is able to bring them into the fold.
But there has to be more than words, no? There has to be more than fine words, Mr. Siddiqui. There has to be more than fine words. This country needs fine action.
The closure will come when people are able to come together, and that requires lot of actions, lot of government at the social level, at the political level, lot of actions have to be taken, and Muslims must understand that they have to resolve these issues in their own interest, but at the same time the majority has to understand that if the country has to move forward, then they have to take the minorities, especially such a large, in fact the second largest majority with them. If they don't, then the country will suffer, not just the Muslims. It is the country which will suffer, and therefore you have to win over their hearts and their confidence.
Okay.
विश्वास सिर्फ नारा नहीं होना चाहिए, विश्वास जमीन पे नजर आना चाहिए.
That's an important thing. नारा नहीं, जमीन पर नजर आना चाहिए. Ratan Sharda, you are an author and an RSS ideologue. You tell us, how do you translate this promise of that we need to move beyond Ram and Rahim, we need to build a new India, which is based on the notion of bringing people together. How do you go beyond the nara, the slogan?
Rajdeep, to call it Nara is actually insulting the intelligence of people. If you look at what Mohan Bhagwat ji has said and the conduct of people who are linked to Ayodhya movement for long years, none of them has spoken out of turn. None of them have made triumphal noises, and none of them have made any kind of statement which can be construed as something that goes against the spirit of brotherhood. So I think this onus of putting everything on RSS and BJP is rather, thin. And I would say we should stick to this spirit. And this a long, century-old.
No, but the spirit requires give and take. No, Mr. Sharda, just a minute.
Particular deep wound in the civilization.
A spirit requires give and take. Now, when Mr. Mohan Bhagwat was today asked whether there will be a moratorium on Kashi, Mathura, other demands.
So for that,
today it's Ayodhya, tomorrow it could be Kashi, Mathura. Should there be a moratorium on all further demands? Just as the Muslims today must concede and respect the verdict, should Hindus also say now, we have no more demands. This can't be an eternal battle. Tomorrow it will be Kashi, day after Mathura, that must stop. Mohan Bhagwat sidestepped that critical question. I'm asking you, should there be a moratorium on all further demands?
I do not remember any of the media people questioning the Muslim leaders that why they don't set up for negotiation, why they are making provocative statements when the court case was going on, why there is a delay. This effort to put the onus on Hindus and put them in a corner is not appreciated. Today is the day when everybody has shown big heart. Let us move from here. Why do you assume there will be more demands coming in? To tell you the truth,
because the VHP has asked for more demand. No, 1 minute. Hotheads from the Muslim community need to be isolated. I agree. Those who make provocative statements from any community need to be isolated. But the VHP has not given up on its Mathura Kashi demands. Should those demands be given up now?
Rajdeep, if you are an old journalist. You know that in 2003, when the settlement was about to be reached, Muslim side or this Babri side put up a condition that everybody should give away the right to ask about Kashi and Mathura, and the negotiation broke down. It will need much more persuasive power on both the sides to close the matter. You cannot put the onus only on Hindus. So everybody has to agree that this kind of provocative statements like Owaisi made about Hindu Rashtra and this is going to lead to this and that. You also trying to link NRC and CAB to Ram Janmabhoomi is ridiculous.
My point is, sir,
NRC and CAB are the communal demands.
Does
any nation have a system where there is no citizen's
card? That is disputable, the manner in which these demands are being placed. Okay. I am not going to get into a tutu meme, sir, with any one of my guests today.
CAB is communal.
Okay. You make a point that
Sanjay Hegde, it's a Hindu Rashtra demand. No, Rajdeep, are you saying CAB, NRC? I just heard you. NRC, CAB said it's a demand. Is it a communal demand? Is it an anti-national demand? Is it a demand against Muslims?
The manner in which the CAB
it is a demand against foreign
the manner in which the citizens,
no country has a system where
you cannot
walk
dispute
in and walk out.
The Citizenship Act as it stands today. The manner in which, sir, just a minute, sir, on this channel we don't have no noise today.
I don't agree by creating this
atmosphere. Sir, there will be no noise. I ask a question, you are free to respond. I am not going to get into a tutu meme with you or anyone else.
Don't make noise.
That's your view.
I came 35 minutes too late. I made one statement and you're already upset.
I'm not upset. I'm saying, sir, that this is not a moment. I am asking you a question. You're saying CAB and NRC are not communal demands. That's your view. I asked a question. You've given your answer. Let me turn to Sanjay Hegde. Sanjay Hegde, the point which is being made, are the likes of Assaduddin Owaisi, therefore, a step behind the community or simply echoing a certain anger and resentment of their community? Are they trying to, in a sense, provoke the community when they say that the Supreme Court may be supreme but is not infallible?
Well, that is a pure statement of law, and the Supreme Court, in fact, has itself published a book which says supreme but not infallible. So, Mr. Owaisi, at least there, is using his barrister's training. Now, what it also occurs to me is that today A lot of India is tired of Mr. Owaisi leading the Muslims or the likes of anybody on the RSS, BJP, this side, also claiming to represent all Hindus. I am a Hindu, they don't represent me. I'll put that clear. A lot of India is tired of all this.
That's an interesting way. Is there a sense?
India, thankfully, is not really concerned.
Is there a sense of fatigue, you think?
Yes, we do not want to be hijacked.
Do you see a sense of fatigue?
No, it's not fatigue. I'm not saying fatigue. I am saying that we are sick of all this. We want to move on, build your temple, build your mosque, but ultimately Ram roti hai. Unless India has jobs, unless India develops, all this is going to get us nowhere. So please, for heaven's sake, you think that this guy gets you votes, this consolidates votes on either side? We are sick of this game. We want people who deliver not only on temples and mosques, but people who deliver jobs, people who deliver economic growth. Because if you do not have peace in this country, you might as well kiss the economy goodbye. And that is also possibly where the Supreme Court has given an out to everybody. It has given an out to the Muslims saying, okay, this is a court judgment, you could not give up your claim over the land, the court is taking away. It has given an out to the government saying that you take the land, you build a temple if you want. Please, for heaven's sake, it is one temple, one mosque in one small place in North India. Let us not tie our ideas of religion, our ideas of faith, our ideas of democracy to just structures.
Okay, you made your point.
Ram lives in our hearts.
You made your point, Mr. Hegde. Ram lives in our hearts. Ram is roti.
And Ram lives in our stomachs.
Okay, you made your point, Mr. Hegde. Let Mr. Vikas Singh respond. Vikas Singh, from a legal perspective, do you believe that the courts have done as much as they could to harmonize the various interests? When an Assaduddin Owaisi turns around and says that the court, as I said, is supreme but not infallible, they've done injustice to a community, do you believe that he is giving the polarized view that the court wanted to resist? The court wanted to build a harmony between the conflicting interests.
Well, Rajdeep, on the I'll come to this second. I'd rather go on the first point that you raised just earlier on the question of Mathura and Varanasi. I don't know whether anybody has spoken on your channel. There is an act of 1991 which protects all religious places from being converted, which were whatever they were in 1947. So that means if there was a temple in 1947, that temple will remain a temple notwithstanding its destruction. If it was a masjid, it will remain a masjid. But that act excludes the Babri Masjid. So it was an act actually passed by the Congress government in 1991 to ensure, and it was basically a bargaining chip which the Muslims had, that they didn't want to give, they didn't have problem in giving away Ayodhya, but they said while giving away Ayodhya, we don't want the other structures to be demolished. So that act has not been challenged till date, and as long as the act is in force, there is no question of converting any place from mosque to a temple, etc. Now, as far as the second point is concerned, the Muslims were, as per the judgment now and as per the evidence that has come before the court, Muslims were trespassers on this land. And even though they were trespassers by virtue of the fact that they have been illegally and wrongfully dispossessed and their structure was wrongfully damaged, the Supreme Court has, according to me, shown a lot of statesmanship in giving them 5 acres of land, because that's not actually a legal determination in a civil suit. The Supreme Court has exercised its power under Article 142,
right,
because the Muslims did not have any affinity to this area. They were really harmed, they were really wronged by a masjid, a so-called masjid being demolished. So by giving them 5 acre of land within this 67 acre, which according to me should have been the final mediation effort, also would have resulted into something like this. Because as far as the Hindus are concerned,
No, is
They
the
were very
5
sure
acres
that
within the
Ram had,
67? No, just a
been
minute.
born there and this
The
was
court does
something
not
which
say
they
the
believed.
5 acres should be within the 67 acres.
Yes,
They say
so it is
anywhere within Ayodhya. Does it matter,
It
Shahid
says so.
Siddiqui?
It says so.
No, Shahid Siddiqui,
No.
does it matter?
The judgment.
No, sir, I've gone through
No,
the
I'll tell
judgment.
you,
It
just
says
one
in
second.
Ayodhya.
The judgment says
In Ayodhya.
Rajdeep. No. I'll tell you. I have the judgment. I have got the judgment in front of me. It says 5 acre in the acquired area or in Ayodhya, if it is in the acquired area by the central government or otherwise by the state government in Ayodhya. So
Okay.
it's actually, if the first choice is 5 acre in the acquired land, that is to be given by the center because the center is the owner of that land. And if not, then by the government of UP in Ayodhya. So it's worded like that. So
Should Ratan
basically,
Sharda
the first
therefore,
choice is to give
should
it within
Ratan
the acquired
Sharda
land.
an effort be made therefore to in some way find a way in which Hindus help build the mosque and Muslims participate in the temple building?
It's a most welcome measure. Everybody has welcomed this issue, this idea of cooperating with each other. But my larger point is that when Owaisi says the Supreme Court is not infallible, it's a good as a quotation. But he had said that they have full faith in Supreme Court. So does the faith end if the judgment doesn't go in their favor? Secondly, Mr. Sanjay Hegde has made a statement that RSS doesn't represent him. I'm fine, I don't want to represent him. But RSS Hindu society was with this temple issue. Otherwise, no movement can last for 37 long years. From 1983 to today, the movement has sustained various phases, which means the Hindu society by and large was along with the movement. Even court has accepted that there is a strong feeling about it. So let us not vitiate the atmosphere by putting somebody in the front or trying to put somebody as communal or whatever. None of the statements apart from December 6th when the tempers were raised because of last minute going back on what was promised to be beginning of the Car Seva. Apart from that, all these years, not a single phase of this movement was violent, was breaking the law.
Mr.
So
Ratan Sharda, I don't want to go back into the past.
Even when bill was
Mr.
proposed,
Ratan
we said,
Sharda,
let it go
the
to
kind
court.
of statements
So
that the
we went by
BHP and
court.
Bajrang Dal made, let's not go down that road again today. I hope, will they learn the lessons? Will they now be more
everybody
restrained?
made. No, Mr. Sardesai, everybody made. There are more than Owaisis, there are more than Jilanis everywhere.
The responsibility
but RSS
of both
from its
communities.
own movement had to take it very soberly. People sacrificed their lives. There was no violence about it. Yes, I said that in the first statement itself.
Okay,
I just counted a few statements. I said it's a welcome mood. Both should cooperate with each other and start a new day.
Okay,
Let us start a new day. Not
Shahid
start
Siddiqui, can we
pointing
expect
fingers
the
like
hotheads of
cabinet
both
people?
communities
Some
to
of
be
them doing it
isolated?
here. I
Shahid
didn't raise
Siddiqui,
finger at
can we
anybody.
expect the hotheads of both communities to be isolated? Will Muslims isolate those who make these kind of provocative statements, and will Hindus isolate those? Do you expect that to happen? Or once we have elections, again people will play politics with Ayodhya? Is that phase over? Has today ended that phase of playing politics with Ayodhya?
One small point. शाहिद जी 1 मिनट केवल 10 सेकंड लूंगा मैं आपके।
Rajdeep,
शाहिद जी, 10
Muslims since
सेकंड लूंगा केवल।
1947, since
Somebody told
independence.
us if Ram Mandir temple is
Since
made,
independence,
then
Muslims-
BJP
One by
will
one,
rise,
please,
so let
Mr.
it
Sharda, let him complete.
Let the temple be built, let the politics of temple go, and let people vote on strong.
A parliamentary seat
I just, I
outside
request
One
you
minute,
for 10
Mr.
seconds.
Sharda, let
He
him
has not been
complete.
able to win a seat
I just
outside
said,
of Kerala.
if political
So
parties
Muslims
lose
have
on the
gone
best
with
temple, I'm
secular
fine with
forces.
it.
Muslims
Okay.
have gone with secular
I can
leaders.
listen
so
to him,
Muslims
actually.
have always isolated those who are for separatist politics. Muslims are for inclusive politics, secular politics.
Yes,
not
but they
for
haven't.
communal
No, let's be
politics.
honest,
And
Shahid
therefore,
Siddiqui, whether Hindus or
it
Muslims,
is
there
for
have
the
been
Hindus
people in
to
both
see
communities
that
who
Muslims
have used
feel
emotive
that they
issues.
are part
Hindu
of
vote
this
bank
society,
politics and Muslim
part of
vote
this
bank
nation,
politics
part of the
is a
polity.
reality of this
They should
country.
not feel isolated.
It's a reality of this country that there has been Hindu vote bank politics and Muslim vote bank politics. Maybe this is an opportunity to put that behind us and actually then
Muslim
find new
vote bank
beginnings.
politics has been played by the secular parties.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Muslims vote bank politics has been played by secular parties.
Okay.
Not by Muslims.
Agreed.
Have never played it.
Agreed.
It is others who create a sense of fear among the Muslims and then exploit their vote.
Okay, point taken, and a good point that you make. There have been people who have exploited the fears and anxieties of the Muslims. There are those who have exploited and emotions of the Hindus. The time has come to move perhaps beyond that binary. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.